Shimada mains, hear me out, okay? I get it. Basically, for 2 years or so, Hanzo was deemed quite the troll pick, and it's nice to finally see Hanzo in a place where he's a very useful character in the metagame. Why? Because he's fun, he's cool. It never made much sense that one of the coolest characters in the game wasn't very good for the majority of Overwatch's life cycle, but even after a little bit of a teensy-weensy nerf that came through, I think it's time that we can have a real talk on the state of his power and the effect that he's having on the game. Now, we gotta be honest about all this. It's not entirely the reworked Hanzo's fault. The meta has also shifted to be beneficial for Hanzo's playstyle for a few reasons. We're going to take all the factors into consideration. Stick with me on this, but I think the first and primary concern about Hanzo 2.0 is that he's a bit too easy for the power that he gets, isn't he? I could say that because I'm not that good at Hanzo, and all of a sudden now, being imbued with the power to snipe Pharahs out of the sky, it's just a big shift, you know? He went from a guy that did amazing amounts of burst damage, the most useful type of damage, of course, that could get pickoffs if you're really skillful, to a guy that can still do that, just better, and also overlaps and replaces sort of more general purpose pressure damage characters, like a character like Soldier, for instance. Soldier's damage has drop-off, so not only is he worse at shield break now, he's also worse against Pharah than Hanzo a lot of the time, but as we go through these comparisons, just about all the DPS characters look worse than Hanzo a lot of the time, which ultimately is where we have to start to think, is he a bit too good? It didn't take too long, but I think a lot of DPS players have acclimated to how reliable the new Hanzo is, and he's sort of at the state where Junkrat was before, where his kit just produced so much team damage into the battle that he, like Junkrat with double mines that did 120 each, both feel like this massive asset to the team that you're going to struggle to find anybody in the game that is going to be able to replace him or match him on the enemy team. But of course, like I said, the meta is definitely in his favor as well. If Brigitte wasn't in the game and we got the reworked Hanzo, I think we would see things a lot differently when there isn't that hardcore answer to Tracer. Although in some ways, Storm Arrow is a bit more reliable against Tracer. In any case, he doesn't really want to be fighting her. His lunge is good, but her blinks are better. And if we had Hanzo 2.0 without Brigitte, I think a character like Tracer would really keep Hanzo in check. And straight up 1v1 duels like Genji and Pharah, which I think are a bit more even than they have been in the past, would start to edge more to the mobility characters, because when dive is better, then the mobility of characters like Pharah and Genji can get utilized more because you can use a dive tank to get past the front line to go get the Hanzo, whereas right now that entire playstyle is punished by one of the most powerful crowd control abilities Overwatch has ever seen with Brigitte's Shield Bash. I think this is further evidenced by the fact that in the Overwatch League right now, we're still seeing a ton of Hanzo. Widow is definitely favored if you have to pick one, but a lot of double sniper compositions come out, and at least on that build of the game, Widow is a bit better, but I think it goes the other way once you get the reworked Hanzo into the mix. But in any case, it's merely the presence of Brigitte, who both is a threat to be swapped to if your opponent dares to try to start diving you, but also the fact that range damage is the key to defeating Brigitte. Shield pressure, pickoffs, and good enough mobility in order to get off angles, go for little cheeky flanks, get onto high ground especially. Both Widow and Hanzo are really good at that, which is what makes them kind of the all-star DPS right now. And in the back of your mind, you have to be thinking, there always is a danger if you over-nerf a character like Hanzo to see Brigitte start to look even better. And we got to keep that in the back of our minds as well, but I think despite that, we can think of some reasonable nerfs that can put him in line with the rest of the DPS in the game. And if for some reason Brigitte is still a bit too strong, which I actually don't think she is on a lot of maps, but in any case, we can cross that bridge when we come to it, because ultimately a lot of the meta is surrounding the strength of Hanzo and sort of the soft meta protection that he has to watch his back from some of the mobile characters that could overwhelm him. I think realistically speaking, speeding up his arrow was one of the most significant buffs you could ever give him, and because of that, Storm Arrow doesn't really have to be that great, but it actually is quite good, so it gives you the best of both worlds. You can constantly poke and put down shield pressure, general purpose damage, threat and pickoffs, and then also switch over to the Storm Bow, which lets you move at full speed and is a duelist threat, especially against some more mobile characters. I think one of the most reasonable nerfs that I could think of is reducing the big speed increase you get while using Storm Arrow. I don't know what that would mean. Like, would he have to slow slow down and pull back his bow like he does normally? Is he kind of a sitting duck during storm bow as if he's doing a full pullback on his bow? But at this point, even if that was the case, with the amount of basically free firepower you get out of storm bow, where a noob like me can even mow down a tank or win a duel with it, I think having a mobility disadvantage there so that the characters that have better mobility, especially Pharah, Genji, Tracer, have a bit easier time tracking him down would be a positive change. And notice overall, I don't really necessarily think that we need to change too much with the way his damage works. Perhaps there's a modifier they could put on it so that it is less effective against shields, but generally I think the arrows hitting enemy squishies in a 1v1 duel against them feel quite fair and solid and good, but it's a bit of an extra problem that he now also is mobile with being able to run up walls and lunge really far every few seconds, and storm bow not only increases his firepower, but increases his mobility as well, which is kind of a nightmare for a lot of characters to duel, because compared to a guy like McCree, who just overall has less firepower in general, yeah, his shots are hit scan, but Hanzo's nearly are as well, and McCree's mobility in comparison is a joke, really. Can't run up walls, and his roll is just worse than lunge. I think Hanzo would feel a lot more fair if his mobility threat felt a bit closer to McCree, and then it would help warrant the fact that he's an effective damage dealer at all ranges. That's the scary thing, because Widow has better mobility with grappling hook that can send her flying, instantly get to high ground without having to run up the wall, get her a lot more distance and a lot faster, but she's really exploitable once you do get on her in close range, because her submachine gun mode of her Widow's Kiss isn't very good, whereas Hanzo always has Stormbow in his back pocket, which, let's face it, is basically a better Soldier's machine gun. It's almost as bad if Soldier could shoot 3 rockets in a row. Bam, bam, bam. It's nearly as effective as that. So at least for me, even though I really love seeing Hanzo in a good place, I think he's a fun character to watch and really fun to play, I think some of the changes that I've suggested in this video are reasonable in order to not knock him down too many pegs so that we won't see him ever again, but also narrow his skill set a little bit more so that he isn't dominating the DPS category in the way that I think a lot of us agree he is currently. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. These videos always provoke a very interesting discussion. Be respectful to our Shimada brethren. Try to remember the years of hardship they had to go through with their character being quite unplayable a lot of the time. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, because we upload each and every day. So go and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news updates, dank memes, Overwatch League predictions, and I've been trying to stack at Masters, especially in anticipation of the wink wink social features that are supposed to be coming any day now. And if you'd like to hop in one of those sessions, be sure to follow so that you get notified when I'm looking for teammates to match up with. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.